I just walked past a business that I've talked about in the past several months ago, that I was really glad it was here, the burger shop. Enjoyed it while it was here. Featured it a couple of times. It's gone. I didn't expect it to last. And I didn't even like to tell myself that. But you know, you can get a feel for those types of things sometimes, especially if you've been there yourself. And as I was walking past, listening to some music, I was trying to imagine what it must have been like. I know the owner, not well, I just knew him because I was a patron there. And I knew that he took a big gamble, and he had a lot to lose. He had a young guy, probably 30 years old at the most, maybe a little older, but you know, he's very young. And he's got a wife and 3 kids, all under the age of 10, 2 little boys and 1 little girl. And he opened a burger shop in a, you know, there's some pieces of real estate that are doomed. They're like jinxed for some reason. Do you have those in your neighborhood? Some places where, you know, anything that opens there is doomed for some reason. There's something about the flow of pedestrian traffic or something like that. It's in the backwaters of the stream. There's not enough traffic comes by. People won't notice it. It looks favorable. It really does. It's in a nice place. I'm sure it commands a good rent every time the owners can find a new tenant because of its location. But without fail, I've been here 10 years. I've watched several businesses come and go there, and it wasn't that necessarily that I thought doomed it. It was the character of the business. There's something about. I'm no businessman. I can't really give advice. I've only failed at business. I've never succeeded at it. But what from my failures, one thing I have learned is that you cater to the customer's needs. You figure out what people need, and you create a business designed to give that to them. Not necessarily coming up with a business that fits what your interests are, and then trying to push that on your customers. That's a recipe for failure. You have a long shot chance that might work. You may have the next bright idea that will be a success, but that's a long shot. And it's much better to simply make another shoe store. People always need a shoe store. People always need shoes. Get yourself a Payless shoe store franchise if you can. And another. What are the other things that people always need? They're always going to need. Drugstores, and I mean, you can't. That's something no individual can have. And it's getting to the point now that the industry is coming to the point that it's only the big corporates that can take over all that stuff. The little guys pretty much becoming wiped out. But that's another topic. So anyway, back to this burger shop, and they disappeared about 3-4 months ago. The shutters went down. I went back several times, and I found it was closed every time. There was a note on the door in Japanese that my wife, she loved the place too. She went there, and the place said that it was they were gone for a while. They were taking some time off, and then that note disappeared. All the stuff, the accoutrements of the business outside, a little motorcycle, decorations, the sign, everything is still there. It's all falling to ruin. The motorcycle, I don't know how the motorcycle accelerated its ruin. It's rusting away. You know, Japanese like to have these little custom bike in front or something like that. Kind of catches the eye. The thing looked good when they first opened, but it's ruined. It's rusted, and that's what happened. I was walking along, and they're gone. They're gone. I think so. I talked to my wife about it, and she suspects. Excuse me. She suspects that they bolted. You know, which can happen if you're under a lease, and you know, it's sad when it comes to that. It's sad for the property owners as well. Sad for everybody. You know, they had a lease, and I probably couldn't maintain it, and they bolted and left everything behind. Everything looks intact. Just the shutters are down. I'm sure probably everything's inside that restaurant. The owner's trying to scratch their head, think about what to do. So as I was walking along, looking at I'd seen the motorcycle and the rust stains developing on the engine there, and the dust and the dirt and the sign that was so enticing to me when they first opened because they were real American style hamburgers. And I was thinking about, I could almost taste it. I was thinking about the taste of ruin. What does ruin taste like? And I was almost trying to kind of, you know, imagine it. And it was maybe it was because of the rust that I saw. It was kind of an iron type of an aesthetic, like you'd put you put a nail in your mouth. That's not rust necessarily, but have you ever done that? Have you ever put like a galvanized, I don't know if it's the right kind of thing, but my dad used to have nails, steel nails, and he was a carpenter when he was young. He had a carpenter's apron and nails, and sometimes, you know, it would be hammer, you put the nails in your mouth, and it kind of gets that, it's almost like a, I don't know if galvanic, like a, I don't know, I'm making that word, I'm pulling it out of thin air, but it seems to fit. Galvanic, almost like an electrical type of a thing, kind of a, it's a bitter taste. That's kind of what failure tastes like, or the taste of rust, what I think rust might taste like, the iron taste. It's not sour, you know, failure, or not failure, but ruin, that's the word I'm after, not failure. Ruin, that's where failure tastes different. Failure tastes bitter, and it bites, and it's almost something that's different from bitter. It's got a painful component to it. It seems to hurt you in a way, whereas ruin has something more akin to death, and the sense of decay going on, the complete loss, the giving up, the having gone over it. I'm speaking from experience. You know, I failed at my business, and I've talked about it before, and I remember what the failure was like. I mean, good gosh. I mean, to have life's work, you know, all my fortune and everything lost in that regard. I mean, I never want to experience that again. I was talking to my friend Toshi about it the other night. I mean, I imagine the loss of of a child was the only thing I can imagine that might be worse. You know, a loved one, you know, actually physically dying. But just have to see all that effort, all that, and the shock to your system. Failure has a different feel. Failure is a blow. Ruin is decay, and they have a different bite to them. Failure typically precedes ruin, and to the individual who's undergoing it, the failure is devastating. The ruin is evaporative in a way. It kind of dispels. It takes everything away, and you kind of are left in a kind of a stupor in a way, as you and I know I went through it, and eventually, if you're lucky, you come out of it, you know, but you're never the same after the failure and the ruin leave you marked and scarred and damaged. Let me get across the road now. It's still green, and I felt compelled to try and capture that. It's almost a tactile sense. It's almost a taste. Those two things have almost a taste. I bet I could explore it further and find other aspects, and I'm focusing on the negative now, because the negative have been the most influential upon me. The positive stuff in my life has all been positive stuff is like an forgive the nature of it, but it's the thing that's coming to mind. It's like an orgasm. You know, it's satisfying. It's good. It's cumulative. It's cumulative. It's a high point. And there it is. And it can be procreated. It can cause a type of procreation. Success can do that in terms of being the seed, laying the seed for future endeavors. But in a way, it's not educational. It's more satisfying. Success is. Success, in fact, can do the opposite of educate. Sometimes it can lead us astray, give us a sense of false confidence. I'm speaking things that everybody knows, but I mean, for anybody that's had some experience, I shouldn't say everybody knows. Young people may not know this. Maybe it's worthwhile to make videos like this. But failure and ruin are, if you can survive them, and you can. Unless it's bodily ruin, where you've destroyed yourself through mismanagement of your health, or through mere accident or fate, you may not survive that. But your example of your ruin can be a benefit to others. There is a lot to be said for those who can face death in a noble manner, a courageous manner, and be an example for others. That's a test I haven't yet gone through, but if it comes to that, I hope that I can be worthy of it and live up to it. But back to my point. I mean, failure and ruin, if you survive them, you have an advanced degree. If you learn from it, I'm kind of dense, and I tend to repeat the course over, just like I did in college. Yeah, can't tell you how many times I took calculus, failed every time. I mean, at least I think I took calculus in college. I think I took it 7 times. Failed every single time. Never got through. I can't do math. I can't do it. I can't. And it's really a huge disappointment to me, because I know that math is the language of the universe, and I can't do it. So I mean, I gave up. Eventually. And I had tutors. I had everything. I just can't do it. So that failure didn't. That failure only taught me a limit. I guess it did teach me something. That it wasn't ruin, but loss of my business, the ruin of my fortune, the ruin of my ego. Man, if you guys had known me when I was successful, when I was rich, when I was a millionaire, what an ego I had. I thought I was the stuff, man. The ruin of that was the most the most valuable thing that's ever happened to me. I mean, it really is. There's no way that I'd be able to. I don't think I'd be able to make any videos worth a hootenanny if it hadn't been for that. Anything that I would make now, if I hadn't gone through that, the videos that I'd be making now would be full of condescension and lessons from on high. And that would have been from the mere, lucky fortune that I happened to be a .comer and be in the right place at the right time to come into $1 million. And I would have not have gained it by truly by my own genius or effort, but merely by accident. I would have been spewing assumed wisdom from a false context and pretext and experience. Much better to have lost it all and to be able to then share the taste of failure and the bitter taste of failure and the what did I say about ruin? It was the iron, the rust taste of ruin. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I'm gonna sign off for now before the battery goes out. I'm almost home, by the way. I'm gonna call this the end of the outing. This video is part of a series that I'm calling the Abandoned Shangri-La hike, and this will probably be the last video in the series for it. So thank you for joining me. Nice to finish on kind of an introspective, extrospective sharing note, huh? Can you say extrospective? Why not? Yeah. If not, we'll made it up. See you later. Have a great day, guys. Peace. I just walked past a business that I've talked about in the past several months ago, that I was really glad it was here, the burger shop. Enjoyed it while it was here. I featured it a couple of times. It's gone. I didn't expect it to last. And I didn't even like to tell myself. Yeah, young guy, probably 30 years old at the most. Maybe a little older, but he's very young. And he's got a wife and 3 kids, all under the age of 10. 2 little boys and 1 little girl. And he opened a burger shop in a... there's some pieces of real estate that are doomed. They're like jinxed for some reason. Several businesses come and go there. And it wasn't that necessarily that I thought doomed it. It was the character of the business, there's something about... I'm no businessman. I can't really give advice. I've only failed at business. I've never succeeded at it. But what from my failures, one thing I have learned is that you cater to the customer's needs. You figure out do you have those in your neighborhood? Some places where anything that opens there is doomed for some reason. There's something about the flow of pedestrian traffic or something like that. It's in the backwaters of the stream. There's not enough traffic comes by. People don't notice it. It looks favorable. It really does. It's in a nice place. I'm sure it commands a good rent every time the owners can find a new tenant because of its location. But without fail, I've been here 10 years. I've watched off that. But you can get a feel for those types of things sometimes, especially if you've been there yourself. And as I was walking past, listening to some music, I was trying to imagine what it must have been like. I know the owner, not well. I just knew him because I was a patron there, and I knew that he took a big gamble, and he had a lot to lose.